Hey everybody, welcome to this installment of the Booze Briefing. My name is Scott. This is where I get to answer your dumbass questions about my two books, Joe's The Cold War Diaries, Volume 1 and 2, with Volume 3 on the way, hopefully by the end of this summer. This is technically our 23rd episode, but this is not episode 23. This is episode 22B, as in Bravo. Our last episode was 22. This is 22B, and I'll tell you why in a second. But before we get started, give us a like, a share, a follow, subscribe, do all the things you're supposed to do. Come on, help us out, because every book we sell helps raise money and awareness for American Gold Star mothers, a cause that should be near and dear to all of our hearts, but it certainly is mine. And you get our books where? That's right, on Amazon exclusively. Don't write me and send me money to send you a book no. Got to get them on Amazon. That's the way it works. Email address is above my head. You got questions about the books? Hit me up. You want to tell me a funny story of some fucked up shit you did back in the service?
Hell yeah.
Hit me up. Got a drink recommendation? Always interested in that. All right, so I said 22B, as in 22 Bravo. Yeah. So that last episode, 22, was the sort of the post-Memorial Day show, right? It was published, that week following, or the week of Memorial Day, toward the end of the week. And in all the excitement of going to our reunion and the speeches and the parade and all the stuff that we were doing up in Southern Ohio, I forgot to mention a couple of things that I promised Command Sergeant Major Steve Klein, retired, that I was going to do. So I am redeeming myself for trying to in this episode. If you don't know, Sergeant Major Klein was kind enough to write the foreword for the second book, Joe's Volume 2. Great dude. He was in the Army back when, Christ was a mess cook. He'd been around and seen a lot of things. Really cool guy. I think he was the armorer in 1st Special Forces Group. Very awesome guy. I love seeing him every year. He brought to our reunion a book that was General Robert T. Frederick's biography. And if you don't know much about Robert Frederick, look him up. Dude was amazing. Guy was amazing. World War II general, 1st Special Service Force, the grandfather of American Special Forces as we know him today. But he allowed me to auction that book at our reunion to raise money for Gold Star mothers. And I wanted to thank him for that. I also wanted to thank Colonel retired Sid Leak, who was a Green Beret, also at our reunion. Great guy. I love Sid to death. He bought that book and made a very generous donation to American Gold Star mothers, and that money got sent off as soon as I got back home. So thanks to both of you, Sergeant Major, for allowing me to auction that book, and then Sid for your generous donation. And I love our fireside conversation, Sid. We need to do that more often. Yeah, so I wanted to mention that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I wanted to do on episode 22 something about 22 a day. For those of you, the few of you that probably don't know this, the estimate that's been going around of 22 veterans a day commit suicide. I don't know if that number is accurate or not anymore. I've heard tale that number has dropped, which is great. 0 would be great, but I've heard it down to 18 or 17 or 20. It's hopefully moving in the right direction, but we still say 22 a day as a way to shine a light on that, whether that number is still accurate or not. I know that in our reunion group every year at Memorial Day, most of us have lost someone, some of us more than one, of our brothers and sisters who lost the fight, with their demons. Not to mention the ones that laid down their life for our country, in a combat zone. So I'm very sensitive to that. As those of you who've been watching this show long enough know, or just know me personally, my best friend in the Army, one of them, you always have a couple of, your Pizzos, your home slices, right, your buddies, and was Littleton in the books. That was his name in the book. I changed it, of course. And he was one of the 22. And it bothers me tremendously. So, whenever you see someone shining a light on 22 a day, cheer them on, help them out, donate, help out wherever you can. I've given this advice a million times, and I'll give it to everybody here. If you know a veteran that is struggling with anything, really, but certainly when we start talking about taking matters into their own hands, the single best thing you can do for them, it's not tell them to go to therapy. It's not, sit there and watch them 24 hours a day. The best thing you can do is put them in front of another veteran, because you'll save them 6 to 8 months of therapy, because they will open up to that other veteran. They will. And I'm specifically talking to you husbands and wives out there, who may have a spouse that you find it hard to get to that last 1% of their emotional equivalent. And it's find another veteran, get their buddies in front of them. Okay, that's the single best thing you can do. So 22 a day, let's not stop until it's 0 a day, all right? Ideal goal, I know, but it's something I think we can all agree on. All right, getting back to the show here for a moment. Pour of the day is a very strange one. And I didn't think it was going to be strange when I picked it. This is Wathen's Single Barrel Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, put out by the Charles Medley Distillery. Now, I'd never heard of Wathen's. I'd never heard of Charles Medley Distillery. Turns out, at one point in Kentucky, this was a pretty big fucking deal. They were the 10th licensed distilling plant in Kentucky back in the 1800s when they started doing that. And, it's one of these things where as I started digging, the first thing I do when I research, a brand that I haven't heard of, I go to their website. They don't have one. I'm like, well, that's kind of odd. Who are they owned by? Look on the back of the bottle. Bottled by Charles Medley Distillery. Well, it's distilled in Kentucky. Well, who distilled it? So I started digging. It's a bit of an enigma. And when you start putting all the pieces together, or trying to, this is kind of what it looks like with what happened to this distillery. So the Wathens come from the old Medley Wathen bourbon family in Kentucky. Deep Kentucky whiskey roots. I'm talking deep. They came over in 1634, the Medleys did. And one of the items they brought with them was the family still. So, this goes back to really the 1600s. But they sort of ended up settling in Owensboro, Kentucky, which is where the Charles Medley Distillery ended up being. And the Wathen name, because it's Charles Medley Distillery, but this is Wathen's Single Barrel. The Wathen's name traces back to R. Wathen Medley, known for personally picking his favorite barrels out of the warehouse. I guess they realized that this one particular spot, this is the lore anyway, this is the legend, one particular spot in the warehouse or the rick shacks, whatever they're doing, seemed to make a better quality bourbon than the rest. I don't know if there's truth to that, but he would single-handedly pick the barrels. And so he started making Wathen Single Barrel as kind of like, their kind of step up, their premium sort of brand. People called it, raiding the family stash, or he was, who knows, part of it's bourbon lore. He passed away. The distillery changed hands about 1 million times. Charles Medley and his son Sam later tried to, the next Charles Medley tried to carry the name forward. It's very complicated, the history of this. It basically changed hands, faster than a Hustler magazine and on payday on Con Barracks, right? Like, the latest episode or latest issue. So I think Sazerac owned them at one point, and not the brand, but the brand, not the distillery building itself. The distillery building itself is still there in Owensboro, but they don't use it. You know who does use it? Green River, which is a bourbon I'm seeing more and more pop up on the shelves of Max's Bottle Shop and some other places, right? So, Green River took over that site permit. I think it's DSP Distilling, whatever it is, Distilling Plant, KY, Kentucky, number 10, the 10th permit issued in the state of Kentucky. To put it in perspective, I think Buffalo Trace has like the 300th something license. So this is how far back that goes. So now what's interesting about it is, I'm like, well, who's making this? I still don't understand. If they're not using their old distillery, where are they making this stuff? They're what's known, I guess, as an NDP, a non-distillery producer or non-distilling producer, which basically means they're outsourcing this. Even if they give them guidance and our recipe and the mash bill and here's how we're going to do it and everything else, they're still outsourcing it to somebody. They're making it. Now, this bottle says it's hand bottled. This bottle is hand bottled March 24th, 1921, 2021. I'm dating myself a little bit. 2021. So this is already, it's been sitting on a shelf or somewhere for, 5-6 years. Bottled by Charles Medley Distillery in Fairfield, California. It's distilled in Kentucky. Don't know by who. Maybe Green River, maybe somebody else. They're just private labeling it. I'm sure they're giving them their preferences in terms of this. And supposedly the family still handpicks the Wathens. They still go through and try. Don't know if that's true or not. If anybody from Wathen's or Charles Medley Distillery wants to chime in and let me know, I'd love to hear it. So this is a totally outsourced bourbon. They're basically slapping a label on here and saying, hey, this is Wathen single barrel personally selected and all this other stuff. Maybe, but how you get, if those of you who drink Jefferson's Ocean know this, they have the voyages where they let the bourbon tumble in the casks on an ocean voyage supposedly and all this other stuff. But from one voyage to the next, there's differences. Like you can taste the difference. And I'm wondering about this, if they're outsourcing it, they're not controlling the quality. They're not, when I say controlling the quality, beyond handing off their recipe. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't have high hopes, but I'm willing to be surprised. Okay, I'm willing to be surprised. The bottle looked very stately and very cool sitting on the shelf. And I was like, hey, I've never heard of that. I'll give it a go. Reasonably priced. I think it was like, I don't know, 44, 45 bucks or 46 bucks or something like that. But I'm thinking, okay, well, this is good. So it's distilled in Kentucky, bottled in California, and it made its way to the shelves here in Georgia. So we're going to give this a go. In fact, let's go ahead and, wow, this thing is really on here. I honestly don't know how this is going to go. It could taste like ancient age. I noticed the label here is coming up. I'm thinking this is like a bunch of slapdick shit, man. Somebody's throwing this stuff together. I got to get my pocket knife out here, open this up. Honestly, I don't know. It could be fantastic, man. This could be like a diamond in the rough, or it could taste like holy ass. I have no clue, but we're going to give it a go. Because that's what we do here, right? We're equal opportunity offenders and equal opportunity drinkers. And I think that's the way to do it. All right, so we'll go ahead and score that there a little bit. All right, let's see here. You guys know what's coming next, right? Come on, you want to say when 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Was it as good for you as it was for me? I don't know. Well, it smells like liquor. I guess that's the good news. Then again, ancient age smells like liquor. I guess gonna go down that road. That doesn't smell bad. This, by the way, this is, I believe it's like 94 proof. So it's, it's not super high. Smells interesting. All right. Oh man, my ice stayed in there a minute while I was getting everything ready. I need to figure out a better system for that. It smells good. Now, interestingly enough, I was reading these reviews of this stuff online. Different, people have videos, and these professional bourbon, I have other words for them, but connoisseurs, to be polite. And I'm hearing all this shit about notes of Bazooka Joe bubblegum, and I don't know. All right, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But anyway, let's move on. So smells like liquor. We're good on that. All right, challenge is still going on. Don't forget, we get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm eating this 1988 MRE side item potatoes au gratin. Last thing in my rucksack in 1989. So share. Don't just share. Tell your buddies to subscribe. Click the fucking subscribe button or the follow button, depending if you're on Facebook or YouTube.
Hell yeah.
All right. And if you're following us on Facebook, just go over there and subscribe on YouTube. Cost you nothing. I'm not sending you spam. I really don't care. In fact, I can't even send you spam on you subscribe to it on YouTube. I have no idea who you are. Get those numbers up. You guys know you want to see me eat this. And I promise I'll do a close-in of what that thing looks like when I open it up. But anyway, we'll see. We got a couple of questions today. It's from our old friend, Sergeant Richie, who says, and I quote, "For the love of God, can you please explain to people what wall-to-wall counseling means? I'm getting tired of explaining this to people that just don't know. Please help me spread the word." Those of you who know who Sergeant Richie is, Airborne Thumbelina. And he's got a great one, I think one or two in the next book, in volume 3. I know of one at least. I don't have it in front of me. One. Yeah, it's called the Hawk Tua Beer Run. It's exactly what it sounds like, but in ways that you can't imagine. Just not. It's an epic story. But anyway, you guys know Sergeant Richie. So wall-to-wall counseling. All my older veteran buddies are already going, I already know what that is. How do I skip past this? But it's kind of funny. Wall-to-wall counseling is basically, well, it's kind of what it sounds like. You got somebody who's causing some issues, right? Maybe a young private. And you could be he could be an E4, it could be any rank really. Somebody, but typically junior enlisted, who's not conforming, causing trouble, being an ass, not doing what he's supposed to be doing, or she's supposed to be doing. I shouldn't say she. I don't know if they wall-to-wall counsel females back in the day. I don't know. If any of you know, please chime in, let me know, hit me up. But basically, wall-to-wall counseling was this. You could do paperwork, which was the counseling form. Was it DA 4856? Wasn't that the counseling statement form? Not that I would know what the counseling statement form is, but that's paperwork, right? Or you could take Private Snuffy into the latrine and have some wall-to-wall counseling with him. The sort of visual there is you're bouncing them from one wall to the next, but the reality is you start out by lighting them up in their face, just like they were back at basic training, lighting them up, telling them all the things that they're not doing right, what they need to be doing better. And if they want to get lippy, now's the time to do it because there's nobody in the latrine but us type of thing. And if it gets handsy, it gets handsy. If we're throwing hands, we're throwing hands. But you leave that room, whatever that room or that area happens to be, with an understanding, okay? So, yes, it was an opportunity back in those days to settle your differences, right? Kind of like that old equivalent of I'll meet you outside in the playground after school, right? Or I'll see you at PE, when you're a kid in school. Kind of like that equivalent, but without the crowd, right? It's just you and your supervisor or you and your buddy, whatever it is, and you go and you settle your shit. Now, you can read all about it in the legendary FM Field Manual 22-102 dated April 89. I happen to have a sample page here from it. It's not a real field manual. Somebody put it out years ago as a spoof, but I'll try to make it available on the Facebook group if you guys want to. But here's a sample. This is the section called When Should You Wall-to-Wall Counsel? You should wall-to-wall counsel a soldier when he needs it. And all soldiers occasionally need wall-to-wall counseling. Let's talk about minor offenses. Simple infractions can be dealt with quickly by a simple ass beating. Soldiers appreciate this as it saves them the hassle of having to visit the commander for UCMJ action, Uniform Code of Military Justice, Article 15. So, and it goes on. It's really hilarious. Soldiers who harass their leaders are prime candidates for ass beatings, right? In this case, the soldier should not be given an opportunity to try to pull anything on you the second time. If the soldier harasses or ignores you, kick the shit out of him. Enough said. This is a hilarious document. Somebody put it together as a spoof, but I'll make it available. But that's what wall-to-wall counseling was. It's like, you ain't worth the fucking paperwork, but we got to have a talk. All right, that's what that was all about. All right. Do we want to go ahead and take? Yeah, we got the Nutter Butter Dunk test coming up here as well. But let's give this a go. All right, let's just a small sip to start us out here. It smells kind of light. Not a lot of bourbon, but it smells different. I don't know. I mean, it tastes like liquor, but I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not like, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's, I don't know. Again, those of you who know me, I'm not going to sit here and pick out notes of this and that. My palate doesn't fucking work that way. It's okay. It tastes like liquor. If I went to your house and this is what you said, yeah, I got a bottle of Wathens, or we're going to drink it, and that's fine. We're going to drink it. But it's not, it's smooth, but in a weird way. I can't really put my hands. I mean, it's not horrible. Like I said, it's not horrible. It's smooth as far as the burn and all that goes. It just has I don't know, man. It's supposed to be aged. I think it's like 4 years, 4 to 6 years. I think it's an age neutral statement here. I don't think they actually say, but it's a Kentucky straight. So I think it has to be, I think that's 4 years, isn't it? With 2 in Kentucky or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Those rules always confuse me. I don't know. It just does. I don't know. It's different. Again, not horrible, but not like, oh my God. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. All right, we got another question here. What was the very first story you wrote for the Joe series? This is from Triple Z. God, I think the very first one I wrote was the story about It's a Brontosaurus Family, which was when, I can't remember what I called him in the first book, but he's I talked to him on Facebook every now and again. But yeah, he basically was CQ one day and got bored, drew a picture of the first sergeant who looked a lot like Fred Flintstone. He drew Fred Flintstone. In fact, he taught me how to do it. I can probably still do it. Let's see if I can remember how to do this, because he showed me how to do this. I'll show it to you in a sec. Just to sketch this out here real quick. Yeah, I haven't done this in, my God, how many years has this been since I've done this? Let's see. Yeah. Fred Flintstone. He taught me how to do this all those years ago, and I can still kind of draw it. It's kind of weird. That was like one of the first ones I wrote because it was easy. Now, the first thing that I actually wrote for Joe's one was that introduction, which was just supposed to be kind of a little essay, a little memoir to my kids, my 2 daughters, about what the world was like when I joined, when I was growing up, and how I got in service, kind of what have. That's what that was supposed to be about, and then it turned into the funny stories. But I will share something kind of interesting and related to that. The first story that I wrote for Joe's 3, I already knew it was going to be the last story in the book, and I mentioned it before. It's called Echoes, and you'll have to wait for volume 3 to see it. We'll do a 3 question. You want to do 3 questions? I don't know how long this thing's been running. How long has it been running?
About 20 minutes or so.
Well, we'll just go with it. It's a quick question. What did some of the guys? This is from our old buddy Dimwit here, who, by the way, has a nice bar selection from what I understand. He's one of these guys that goes and buys 8, 9 bottles at a time. Yeah. He's probably already typing his reply to me anyway. He had a question. This was a while ago. I decided to throw it in because I for some reason, never got to it. What did some of the guys in your stories wind up doing back in the real world after ETS? I became a software engineer for 35 years. I was a software engineer. After doing all of my requisite odd jobs and shit, once I got out of the service, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I painted houses. I painted commercial buildings. I did construction. I did tree pruning. You just do all this kind of stuff. A number of guys became security guards. A couple became prison guards. And I know at least 2 people that became corrections officers in the prisons that retired there. And let's see, I know of at least 1 more that went into the tech field, the technology field. Yeti went into tech. Let's see. Since you don't know the stories that they're in the books, and I don't want to have to change their names, Bamford was a corrections officer. Alan Combites, if you're watching, he became a corrections officer and retired. Old Nubs. He's if you're watching this, he's probably laughing right now. Just everything. I mean, I wouldn't say it's anything really different than, any. It was a good sort of distribution. Bierman ended up going into. Bierman's truly one of the smartest guys I've ever met. Too fucking smart, really. He ended up going into business process management, all kinds of stuff like that. And he's still doing it. I don't know, man. We did everything, man. We just kind of all drifted back into the block, and we did whatever, our passions were. I know Conan in the books ended up working for a book bindery for a while in Cincinnati. And then later he was working, last time I talked to him, he was working for a audiovisual company that does stuff for, events and things like that. It's just everything. We just did all kinds of stuff. I can't remember if Lane was in 2. I know he's in 3. I think he's in 2 as well. God, I can't remember now. I'm getting old. He was a machinist and a mechanical engineer. Still is. So we just all did different things. If you had somebody specific, a lot of those guys are passed on too. I don't know what they did, So there's that too. So at any rate, let's take one more sip here. We got to do the Nutter Butter test. Let's do that real quick here. Yeah, let's see what we got going on here. This is Wathen Single Barrel Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. I mean, again, it's not bad. It's just, I don't know. Let's give it maybe it'll redeem itself here on the Nutter Butter test. Oh, my cookie broke off. Damn it. All right, well, let me get the good part here at least. It's not bad. Actually, the Nutter Butter makes even bourbon that you don't like better. Not that I don't like Wathen's, it's just like I wouldn't buy it. That bottle is going to last me a long time. But I'll still drink it. Nutter Butters. I'm telling you guys. Damn, you guys don't listen to me. Some of you right now have tried this. Let me know if you like it, all right? At any rate, that's all the booze briefing for today, folks. I'm tired. I gotta go take a nap. Didn't get shit for sleep last night. One more sip. I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt here, man. One more. With that Nutter Butter residue, that's pretty good, actually. Anyway, hey, guys, seriously, keep your canteens full of whiskey, your bullshit in overdrive, and remember, make all your future stories worth telling. Rampage and We Pierce.
Dismissed!